Friends, this is Paul Drockton from moneyteachers.org. We're going to talk about money management and how to think like a millionaire. Now, I'm not talking about the trust fund babies. I'm not talking about someone who was born with a silver spoon in their mouth. I'm talking about someone who's self-made, literally came up from nowhere. So the self-made millionaires look at things differently than you and I. First of all, they buy assets and they sell liabilities. They minimize risk, they play the long game, they live on less than they earn, they value their time, they analyze all variables, and they build in contingencies. First of all, as I stated, they buy assets. And an asset is something that increases in value over time, like real estate, stocks at a specific point, businesses, corporate bonds, precious metals, royalty fees. And they sell liabilities, or they minimize them. The average individual will look at this and say, what a great investment. That's not how they think. The self-made millionaire would say liabilities go down in value over time. You know that new car you just bought? Yeah, it went down in value as soon as you drove off the lot. It's going to continue to depreciate. Not good. Remember, millionaires, self-made millionaires, they minimize their liabilities. So they're not going to go out and buy new cars. Some of them are driving cars 10 years old or 20 years old because from their perspective, there is no appreciation when you buy a car. Stocks also go down in value. Bonds can go down in value when interest rates go up. Clothing, well, it's devalued as soon as you walk out the shop with it. So a lot of self-made millionaires, they don't care where they get their clothing. They go to Goodwill to find used clothing because they don't like the thought of taking good money and investing in something that doesn't have any value over time. Businesses can also be liabilities. And the smart millionaires know when to sell them, know when to get out. So remember, everything that's an asset can turn into a liability. You got to pay attention. I personally have known individuals who had a particular asset that was making them a ton of money, and they decided to keep riding that horse even when it was going in the opposite direction. Millionaires don't think that way. When they see the value changing, they're going to dump it. They're going to get rid of it because they don't want to get stuck with all that liability. Jewelry for the average person is an investment. Trust me. I own a Drockton bullion and coin, and one of the things we do is we buy gold and silver jewelry. And I'm going to tell you right now, as soon as you walk out of that store, the only value this has is either what someone else is going to pay for it or the melt value of the precious metals. Normally, that's about 1/10 of what you gave that jeweler. Not an investment, okay? I want to make sure we understand that. Remember, they minimize risk. They don't gamble with their money. They don't sit back and say, man, I hope this pays off. Don't talk to them about making a quick buck. Don't talk to them about easy money. These people work hard for their money, and they're not going to go after some kind of a scheme where people are promising them unreasonable returns for a minimal investment. And they don't speculate with their money. They don't bet that something's going to go one way or another. And if there's any speculation, these people will walk away or run away. They stay away from unproven companies. So a company has to have some kind of a track record so they can do some projections based on what it's already done. And don't even talk to them about money games. Do you know all those different schemes that have come out over the last decade? Some of them deal with sell advertising, right? Get paid. Others are e-currencies, right? These are all money games. If you don't have a tangible product that people want, that's a money game. And people with wealth, they run from this stuff. So just remember, easy money is not what these people are after. They play the long game. They know they're going to win and they know they're going to lose, but the way they think is they want to get that asset at the lowest possible cost, and then when it increases in value, they're going to sell it. That's called a capital gain, and that's what they're looking for. Looking for a profit off of their investment. They don't care what it is. The one thing they don't want is a loss. So remember, they'll dump an asset or a liability in a heartbeat just to move into something else that has a lot more promise. They live on less than they earn. A lot of these guys start off broke and they're never going back. And they understand that the best way to avoid being broke is when you got it, you don't spend it, you save it. That's called sacrifice. There's two definitions for sacrifice. We're going to focus on the first one. A surrender of something of value as a means of gaining something more desirable or of preventing some evil. See, it's interesting. The self-made millionaires, the guys that earn it on their own, for them, it's simply a matter of giving something up to get something better. And ask them what they think about other people's opinions, and they're not interested. These guys aren't out there looking for popular approval. The guys that are self-made, they're quiet. They don't want people to know they're successful. They're driving around in old cars. They're living in older homes. They're not flashy. They're not flamboyant. Too many people spend money they haven't earned to buy things they don't want to impress people they don't like. This is Will Rogers, and he's right. They also value their time. So from their perspective, time is an investment, just like money. And if you're going to invest your time, they want a return. So don't ask these guys to get caught up in the latest controversy on social media. They don't waste their time. If they're on social media, it's because they're trying to generate revenue. And by the way, don't pop in on these guys. They won't see you. They have barriers to you getting in to see them. They keep a schedule, and that schedule is fixed in stone. These guys eat at the same time every day. They exercise the same time every day. They have habits, and they keep those habits because from their perspective, that's how they got where they're at. Don't break their routine if you don't want to be on their bad list. Also, TV for them, a total waste of time. When they look at television, from their perspective, all that is a time waster, and it costs some money. And like I said before, don't bother calling these guys. You're going to get their voicemail unless you have an appointment. So if they're interested, they'll call you back. If they're not, they won't. It's just the way they work. They're also very, very good at looking at risk. So these people don't look at one road. They're looking at all the possible variables and the outcomes. So if they're looking at a business, they're going to study the environment. They're going to study the history. They're going to study what could go wrong. They're going to study what went wrong. They're going to study everything. They want to know every possible outcome and every possible variable. Variable is something you can't control, and variables can change the outcome. So these people, they do an outcome assessment plan before they make a decision. And then if they decide they want to do it, they're going to look at all the contingencies. What happens if? What happens if plan A doesn't work? You got to have a plan B. Well, what if plan B doesn't work? You got to have a plan C. They build in contingency plans. So they're assuming that things aren't going to go according to plan, and they prepare for it. Because whatever can go wrong, according to Murphy's laws, I love this. The first is, in any field of endeavor, anything that can go wrong will go wrong, right? We all know that. Second, left to themselves, things always go from bad to worse. If you don't intervene, it doesn't get better. Third, if there's a possibility of several things going wrong, the one that will go wrong is the one that will cause the most damage. So these guys are going to analyze. They're looking for weaknesses. They're looking for vulnerabilities. They're looking at things that are going to destroy what it is they're trying to build. Remember, nature always sides with the hidden flaw, right? That tree goes down. You might not be able to see the rotten core, but it's going down as soon as that wind comes up. And number 5, if everything seems to be going well, you have obviously overlooked something. So these guys keep an eye on their investments. They literally want to know everything that's going on. Why? Because they're looking for flaws. They're looking for potential damage. They're looking for negative outcomes because they want to prepare themselves. And they don't waste their time on the things that most people waste their time on because of the media. For example, someone gets struck by lightning somewhere in another state. They don't care. It's not their concern. They're not focused on that. They're not afraid of going out in a rainstorm and getting struck by lightning. They don't prepare for that. They don't walk around with lightning rods. Those are low probability events. They're not worried about getting the Ebola virus. They're not worried about things that have a very, 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 very low probability of ever happening. So this is a good way to look at the way they look at things. If something's very likely, and if it happens, it's going to be severe, then they're going to put together some kind of a contingency plan, or they're going to avoid the risk altogether. Same thing with significant. So if it's very likely and it's got significant negative outcomes, they're going to either avoid it or they're going to try to figure out how to work it into their plan. When we get to this category of moderate, medium high risk, well, in reality, everything is going to have risk to it. And they're going to analyze the risk. They're going to sit back and say, okay, can I absorb it or not? Or can I transfer it to, say, an insurance company? That's how they look at it, right? How are they going to protect their asset while it's growing? And trust me, if there's no protection, they're out of there. It's that simple. And then as you look at this chart, if something is likely, low probability, they're going to ignore it. Negligible risk. They don't pay attention to it. If it happens, it happens. Can't prepare for everything in this world. But they prepare for the ones that are the most likely to occur, because they know if you are prepared, ye shall not fear. Look, if you're going to bed every single night worried about the same thing, then you're not prepared. You need to prepare for things that are likely to happen to you in life, not for the things that are unlikely. Those, my friends, are what I would call low risk concerns. Don't worry about it. If it happens, it happens. If you go out and it starts raining and you forgot your umbrella, oh well, you get wet. If you lose your job because the company gets sold and it moves out of your country, oh well. How do you prepare for that? Long story short is there's things you can prepare for, there's things you can't prepare for. All right? And just understand you do the best you can with what you got. And the one thing these guys are really, really good at is they're making sure that they have multiple streams of income. Why? Because what if one stream dries up? Well, then they're broke again. And remember, that's the one place these people never want to go back to, is Brokeville. So it's time for all of us. It's time for you. Start thinking like these guys. Forget about wealth. Forget about everybody looking at you and saying, no, what a lucky guy. Who cares? That doesn't matter. What matters is your ability to take care of yourself and your family. And that's what these guys care about. This is Paul Drockton, moneyteachers.org, my friends. Go to my website. This is just one course. You'll see there are multiple courses designed to help you get your financial house in order and get healthy financially. God bless and have a great day.